You're listening to 50% Facts.
The show where we try to answer specific questions on an individual topic, and then at the end we bring in an expert to give you the real answers.
I'm Jim McDonald.
And I'm Mike Farr.
Welcome to our show.
So I have some random, I'll look through my thing, and it's like, I forgot who, like famous people, you know, like, like I'm looking around like I shouldn't have this dude's number kind of thing. I forgot who was who was the old heavyweight champ? Cain Velasquez. Yeah, I have his phone number.
Why do you have Cain Velasquez's number?
I don't know. My life's been weird. I have his email and his phone number in my phone. I have people like that all through my phone. I'll start typing in someone else, you know, so anything with a C and F will pop up. I don't know.
My problem is occasionally I will pocket dial somebody that I don't intend to.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm not too bad at that. I have people I don't even know who they are. I have 1,300 Jasons in my phone, so 20 Jens.
I have a lot of Chris's in my phone.
Yeah, 15 Jeremys.
Michael's supposed to be the most common name for a long period of time.
Yeah, I think my period. Yeah,
but Chris is the one that I have the most of. I think
John.
Yeah,
John's a lot and Jordan's a lot.
A lot of Jordans too.
A
lot of Canadian Jordans.
Yeah, that's true too. I haven't come across that many Michaels in my life. Like my school was tiny, and there wasn't one in my class in high school, I don't think. And then there wasn't one in the grade above me, I don't think.
Right.
And then the only one is my best friend's little brother. I basically consider him family. His name's Michael, and since we're all, like, our families are super close, we call him Mike Sean, because his middle name's Mike Sean, because I was around, so you can't have two Michaels. But now it just has a nice ring, like Mike Sean. We just call him Mike Sean. But, like, I don't know why. I haven't come across that many Michaels. In the gym days, there's not many Michaels around the gym.
Ryans, however.
Yeah.
A shit ton of Ryans.
Yeah. What's Robot Jeff? I was like, what's Robot's real name? Jeff's a common name, but I don't know that many personally, I don't think.
Side note, I heard from Juan yesterday.
Mr. Leha. Yeah, I haven't talked to a lot of those guys.
What was I going to say? No, I bet it just automatically, accidentally calling somebody off of off your list, who probably, again, shouldn't be on your list. There are people still in my phone that should not be in my phone because I don't want to talk to them, so I don't want to, you know. I took forever. I think my late best friend's phone number is still in my phone. I think my mom's dad's still in the phone, and I can't get rid of him. I can't.
Yeah, mine's like that too. And then luckily for me, I don't call nobody, so I don't ever butt dial. But I wonder how many people phone I'm in. That's the same thing. Like, why is this fool on my phone? That's me. You know?
Yeah,
I'm sure.
And there have been, I don't know, worked with like magazines and all sorts of stuff over the years, and you had to have their phone number or whatever to coordinate something, or people's publishers, and you know, we had the opportunity to be in a few books along the way and stuff too, and like,
there's people.
Yeah, there's people, and you're like, I don't want to accidentally call that person.
Yeah, too important.
Yeah,
I don't know. Speaking of magazines, my first real magazine article.
Ooh,
just wrote that.
Awesome for
Men's Journal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like a real thing. I don't even know how to write, you know, but I got the email saying, hey, we need an article from you. So, all right, whip that thing out in an hour.
Nice.
I didn't edit it. I had somebody else do that because I don't know how to write very well. But
well, yeah. I would always rather edit than write, to be honest with you.
Fair.
Yeah.
Because I can chop up like a beginning, middle, all this stuff, and wrap it up. And I think I have some good ideas I can throw down. But like it's gonna be like Twitter text. You know what I mean? That's how I write. Like
140 characters or 280 characters.
I'll say U. It might be the letter U. I might not have any commas anywhere. Maybe things are capitalized. Half of it could be perfect. You know, perfect grammar, and half of it could literally be Twitter type teenage text. I text like a teenager, and I'm surprised how many people still like text me and talk to me and don't think I'm a complete idiot. Maybe because they're people that actually know me or have seen something online and know that I'm not a complete moron. I'm just a hair of a moron. Because if you just read my text and you never met me, you'd probably think I'm an idiot. You know, because it's
a possibility.
It's really bad. And even to you, I probably especially care because we have like real shit to talk about sometimes. Yeah. So I probably take extra care, and it's probably still shit. But if I'm texting fast, I literally yeah, just a moron.
There's a big difference between getting a fast response and then getting a reasoned response from you.
Yeah. Misspelled, no punctuation, no grammar. I
fat fingered hard sometimes.
I think I actually have fat fingers, so that is half an excuse, and half of it's rushed, and then the other half is really fat fingers. And then I think it comes, and I'm going to blame the internet. A big thing for me growing up was AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh,
because it was the first time you could like talk to friends. So that's like probably 6th, 7th, 8th grade, 1998, 99, 2000. We didn't have phones, or at least I wasn't allowed to have a phone. And even if you did, texting probably wasn't much of a thing. I don't think texting was a thing until like mid-2000s when I actually got a cell phone. I got a cell phone. My parents' rule was, my dad worked for a cell phone company too, but I wasn't allowed to have a cell phone until I had my license. And then my parents wanted me to have a cell phone, right, so they can get a hold of me or whatever. But until then, it was AOL Messenger, and you're just banging on that thing. And MySpace was kind of a thing during that time. And so then I think internet slang and gaming, I played StarCraft. Shout out to all my nerds out there that played StarCraft. That's like the nerdiest of the games. Connor, who those that don't know, he does my YouTube. He's going to help us produce this a little bit. He's a little bit younger than me, and he calls me a fake nerd because I don't play some of the games he plays. I'm like, bro, I play StarCraft. Like, that's the nerdiest game. It was like the first, like they have StarCraft like universities in Korea and stuff. Like, it's the first nerd game, and I was playing that, and on there you say things like GG, HF, I mean, good game, have fun, good luck, and you just say GL. Like, everything's just in like 3 letters. And so then now, as a 30-year-old adult as a professional business owner, I still talk the same way.
My younger son, who's 28, never texts okay. It's always KK, and I've never really understood why. And now my wife picked it up.
Me too.
I guess it's fast, but back when you had to key press everything.
So maybe that's it too. So I got really into texting in high school because I got my cell phone, and then it was the old school thing where the number 1 was ABC, 2 was whatever letters come next, and then so you had to click it multiple times to get that thing. But I got real fast. I was smashing on that thing, and you could do it one-handed. It was actually better. Because now you need 2 hands, and you turn your phone sideways, and it's a full keyboard, and you got to press a thing to go to get your exclamation point. Where on that thing, I was wilding just with one finger fast.
My son, same deal. It took actually a long time before he got a smartphone. He didn't want one.
Yeah, I didn't either.
He'd rather key press.
I had then I got a BlackBerry, which was almost half and half. It might even had a full keyboard on there, but I think it had like what letters is it? C or K or whatever or J. J has a little ripple on it.
Yeah,
and then whatever D.
So you can
F.
find him.
Yeah, I think they had that on the BlackBerry.
Yeah, they did.
So the same thing with just one finger. I could type so fast and so good.
Yeah, I was resistant to touch screen keyboards as well, and I'm still not good at them, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I run Gboard on my iPhone.
Is that the same as mine? Maybe
it's predictive.
Oh yeah.
You can swipe through it too, but I'm not good at that stuff.
Oh yeah, I have a swipe. I don't use it either.
It's built into Gboard, and sometimes this thing just shuts off. It also will suggest words, and you can see it, and you can,
I don't mind that predictive. What I don't like is real predictive, because then it's like wrong.
Often, yeah, you have to reread everything that you write.
So I'd rather look like I'm a 6-year-old typing. So I took my predictive off. And my spelling's decent. Like, I was okay at English. I wasn't like a master. It wasn't my best topic per se. But I'm okay at spelling. I'm not a dumb shit. But when you're fat thumbing it, and then also, like you said, like touchscreens have gone really far. I remember the first phone I had, I forgot what it was, because like I said, my dad worked for AT&T. He worked on like the corporate side, but he would still get discounts on phones, so we'd get all the newest phones when they came out or before they came out. And there was one phone I had, I think it was both. I think it was a keyboard and then maybe slid or flipped up, and then it was the first touchscreen. And it had like a sensor panel where like the whole screen would almost like, it had like a shock where the screen would kind of like go in when you pressed it. They didn't have a, what do they call it, like a vibrate feedback. It didn't have that. It had like a real one.
Oh,
like it actually pushed in, almost like a I don't even know how to explain
like a membrane keyboard kind of deal.
Kind of like the whole thing, like the whole screen was up like 2 centimeters, so you'd push the whole screen in a little bit to get the feedback that you're pressing it hard enough.
Okay.
But then you'd fucking have to punch it. You know, you have
really
to shoot it a jab. Yeah, just to press the button, and that wasn't good. And then now sometimes they're too sensitive. You'll press 2 buttons at once. I'm trying to press F and I press G, or you're trying to press H to say like, hey, come hang out, and you say like, hey, come bang out, or come hang with me, and it says come bang with me.
Bang. Yeah, there's an invitation. You have to be careful.
That's hard. That's hard. That's putting us in trouble. That's putting us in trouble. And then what do? You laugh it off. You send a little smiley emoji along the way. Hope you put emoji next to anything and just pray that they take it as a joke. 50% facts is how I teach the world, and 50% jokes is how I walk through my social life. I'm always kind of joking. So they're like, if they're cool with it, if I say something a little risque and they're cool with it, like, all right, yeah, cool. And then if they're not cool with it, I'm like, I was just joking. You know me, just always joking.
Well, the worst is when you send something like that and it's totally the wrong person.
Yeah. That'll get me. I
accidentally sent a Facebook video to Stan Efferding yesterday for some reason.
yeah. Facebook's gotten weird too. I don't even go on that thing.
You can't undo anything.
Yeah.
That's really bad when you can't unsend a message. If they haven't seen it, you still can't delete it.
Oh, really? Yeah. Because on Instagram, I think you can now.
Yeah, I think you can.
And even text sometimes. Maybe iPhone to iPhone. You can delete a message, I think, maybe.
Maybe, if it hasn't been picked up.
I use WhatsApp a lot. We do business on there.
Yeah.
I don't know why. 1, because it's international, and 2, because it's, like, encrypted.
I use it a little bit for business.
Yeah, I like it. And then text is fine, but you're right. You'll be clicking on the wrong fucking person because of the stupid feedback on this stupid thing, and then we're down a deep pie hole of fucking technology, and how about it sucks. For both of us, really, you're way better with technology than I am, but both of us, full career technology world, I am so trash at it. Like oh my god, I can't do anything. I literally can't do anything. And I don't know why. I feel like I could when I was a kid. I would be the one teaching my mom how to plug in the VHS and stuff. But things are so simple then. So the yellow cord, red cord, blue cord. They can't even color coordinate things for me. And they've tried to make it simpler. HDMI, 1 cord, I get it. And I understand all that. I was a DJ. I understand audio. I understand some of the interfaces and things, but it's gotten so complicated. Computers, I guess, is the real fuck up for me.
Yeah, you can't work on cars anymore because they're too complicated. Yeah. You have to pay somebody else to do that. No, I feel you on that.
Even my Mac's it's probably 5 years old, so it's probably time-ish for a new one. They try to outdate you, but like so many things are popping up at the side, and like a keychain, something pops up and says your keychain's loose. Type in a fucking password. What the fuck?
That's where you keep your passwords.
Yeah, but I never set it up. I never told them to do it, and it just pops up and says, and I was like, what? And then it'll pop up like twice a day, and I'll put in my main password to unlock that, and then I think I know what you're talking about. Like it holds your passwords on the websites or something. Sometimes. Yeah. But I don't care if it does that. I don't care if it doesn't do that. I didn't choose either way, but for some reason, middle of a YouTube video and something will fucking overlay. It's annoying.
Speaking of passwords, I'm just going to, before we move on, just pass on this point to people. Use two-factor authorization.
For sure. That's a text deal, right? They'll text you when someone's hacking in your shit. Yeah, I use that for everything. Yeah,
no, I had to... let's say a number of times this year, somebody's tried to get into my my Apple ID.
Yeah, it's so sketchy. Someone hacked my Instagram. Did I tell you that? It was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Someone straight hacked it.
That's crazy.
Deleted all my pictures, and then they're like selling some holographic, like some total bot thing. But then I couldn't get back in. So they hacked it so quick, and then they immediately switched the email associated with the account to theirs, not mine.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to forget password or whatever. Nothing. Instagram was pretty good at getting back.
They restored it to you because do you have to prove who you were and stuff?
Yeah. I had to send them a selfie and then send them a picture of my driver's license, and then I don't know how they associated with the account, but they did it somehow.
Wow.
And I had two-factor on, I think. Maybe, actually, it might have been before they offered two-factor.
I think it was before two-factor.
Yeah. But Twitch has really good stuff like that. Really good. I don't know what YouTube has, but Twitch, anytime I sign in from a new thing, it'll text me. And I'll put in a token.
Right.
And there's a token for my channel. There's like a big old fancy code that's basically like it's 10 letters and numbers and whatever that they made. And it's basically like the social security number for my channel.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
So only you can get into it if you have it.
Yeah, and I can share it with anybody, but it's there and it's always going to be there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think part of what we're talking about here in terms of having been good at stuff before from a technology standpoint and not being good at it anymore.
Aging.
Yeah, some of it is aging and some of it is specificity because it used to be all this stuff was sort of generally available, and now that technology is down in the crevices of everything, you have to have such specific knowledge of stuff to be able to do it, to be able to figure it out,
and it got way broader
properly.
Like a Nintendo, and the cords for a Nintendo were the same as a VHS,
right?
And all there was the RCA, and then the computers, I guess, was a real bitch. And like you just said, like computers are in everything now. Your car's got a computer, phone's got a computer. Jim's got a keyboard next to me. He said this thing's a fucking computer. Like there's fucking transformers all around me. I don't even know. This microphone's probably a computer. That's all I know.
Probably so. Anyway, that's a soft segue into our topic of sports-specific training. And this is one that's always mystified me. Like I can understand the logic kind of getting into the kinds of positions where you need strength, say, in a particular sport, and trying to duplicate those. But the question I've always had is like, how close is it? Does it really make that much difference?
Yeah, I think I'm again biased. I mentioned this in another episode, but like there's gonna be some topics that I feel I have a good hold on here, so I feel strongly opinionated, and I feel like my 50% is way higher, factual. And then there's gonna be some topics that I'm fucking at 0, and I probably have no opinion. And I'm gonna fake an opinion for you guys. So this is another one where I have a very strong opinion. It's something I've done for 10 years as a strength coach, and then another 15 as a player and athlete myself. And I think that it's all a spectrum. It's all a spectrum, like you said. The word specificity, the word functional is thrown around a lot lately in the training world. What's functional? Bicep curl is not functional, but for some reason a squat is functional, right? But what if we're talking about bowling? Is a squat really that functional for a bowler? Like, maybe not, right? But does that mean that we should be doing farmer's carries with the heaviest bowling balls walking through the gym? Like, that's probably a little dumb too. And so that was, I think, a big fad actually right when I was getting into personal training or strength and conditioning, late 2000s, maybe 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, even up until now. But the functional and the sports specific, Nike came out with like a training course of sports specific products, and they literally called it Nike Spark, spark your football athleticism and all this. People are doing, lap pull downs, but instead it's a basketball on the thing. People are doing push-ups, but they'll never do a push-up on the ground. They'll only do a push-up on a fucking football.
Right.
They're doing all this Basu ball stuff. They're on a Basu ball with a baseball glove playing catch, different stuff like that. And I think that misses the mark. The basics of my personal opinion are you're in the gym to prehab, meaning fix imbalances, warm up, get things right so you potentially avoid risk, right? Pre-rehab is basically what it is. We're trying to stop things before they happen. 2, you're trying to get stronger. And that's what the gym is made for. You get stronger, and kind of like you said, you maybe get stronger in the positions that are unique to your sport, maybe get stronger in the muscles that are unique to your sport, or maybe get strong in positions that you just tend to lack or be a little bit weak in. And then the sport specific comes from your sport. You're not going to become a better basketball player in the gym. You're not going to work on your golf drive in the gym. But if you maybe get your back a little stronger, your hips a little stronger, and your conditioning up, your long-term endurance up, maybe you're a better golf driver over the next tournament you do that's a 5-day tournament or something like that. And that's kind of how I feel about all the things. So we're trying to get stronger. We're trying to prevent injuries, trying to fix some weaknesses in the gym. And then with our sport, you have to get better doing that sport. You don't get better shooting a free throw of basketball in the gym, and you don't get better shooting a free throw of basketball throwing a football. It just literally doesn't work. The law of specificity is something people talk a lot about in powerlifting, right? If you want to be a better squatter, you should probably squat. If you want to be a better deadlifter, you should probably deadlift to some extent, and probably that range of how much you deadlift or squat should be doing them a lot if you want to get better at that, right? And it's so simple to some people, right? If you want to get, I feel like music, they're not fucking around in music. Like, oh, you want to play piano? Well, you got to play piano. And no one's saying like, oh, you want to be a really good, I want to be Elton John. They're not telling you to go play the fucking tambourine over here.
Right.
But for some reason in the gym and in sports, it gets foggy in people's head. But that law is just true.
And I think that like with with mental training, I think that things like say, learning another language when you're a kid or whatever, it helps you in certain other ways. I think there might be even a relationship between learning another language and music, or music and something else, because you're training a certain kind of flexibility in your brain. But that's different than telling your body what to do in a specific situation.
Yeah, and then developmentally is a whole nother conversation too, right? And there's a lot of hot topics about that now, about being too specific at the age 10.
Right.
And that's maybe a different topic too, but I agree with you there. Like if you just, when you're fucking a kid, you learn how to use your body through space, and you learn hand-eye coordination, and you do that in multiple things, you'll probably be better when you do get specific in basketball or whatever you choose to do. And that's kind of like the gym. If you get better and stronger, generally speaking, in the gym, then you take that and you make it specific by applying it to your sport.
Right.
Rather than taking the specificity of your sport and bring it into the gym to do weighted chest passes all day. Just do a little bit of bench press, or do a little bit of push-ups, or do some dumbbell work. Not overdo it. You don't have to bench 5 times a week like an IPF powerlifter. But if you bench once or twice a week with some dumbbells, just some light work on your chest, work on your shoulders, work on your tricep, then those will be a little bit stronger. And then maybe through time of training and through time of practice in the gym, basketball gym, you'll be able to get a little bit longer shooting range.
Okay, let's look at it this way. Say you're a powerlifter, and you're not someone that has been well versed in West Side, so you're doing a lot of variations. Do you think that there is value to adding variations to the competition lifts?
For a powerlifter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some to it, and then all that is to a degree. So like basketball, football, soccer, right, are like the least specific sports. Like you have to move in many directions. Sometimes you got to move fast. Sometimes you got to move slow. Sometimes you got to jump. Sometimes you got to whatever, right? And plus you have to control this ball. Plus you got to pass this ball, right? There's so many different factors. Where powerlifting is the most specific sport, right? We have squat, bench, dead. It's to a very pretty strict standard of rules when you're competing. And so I think the variation of lifting that you would do for a soccer player would actually even be bigger than the variation you do for a powerlifter. Kind of like, yes, variation. But if you're a powerlifter and you want to squat, not squatting at all and only doing lunges probably isn't the move. Right? Squatting, going through phases where you're squatting a little bit less and doing a little bit more lunges, sure, maybe. Or again, obviously conjugate type things, maybe some bands, maybe some chains, maybe some pauses. I think there's a pretty good group now. Mike Tashir and all these people are more into variations than most people would think. He's kind of the leader for those that don't know. And raw powerlifting, really. He was one of the first really, really, really strong motherfuckers coming out raw, natural. Also one of the really leading brains in coaching raw powerlifting across the world at a very high level. And he uses some chains, he uses some bands, he uses some variations, but he kind of keeps them close to this core, where Westside goes a little bit outside that core. But again, it's kind of a different platform because they're in powerlifting gear. And then I don't know where I'm going with that. But I think each sport, there's probably a basket of tools that you should use. Like same with soccer. Like a soccer player probably doesn't need to be doing handstand push-ups in the gym to get better. But a soccer player could probably do some box squats to get better.
And speaking of like very specific to sport, most sports have drills.
Right.
That are, they're not maximum effort kind of drills, right?
For sure. Or they're breaking something down into one.
Right.
Which in a powerlifting world would be, there's a full range deadlift and now there's a block pull. In powerlifting, you'd be doing some kind of shooting drill. We used to do one at the free throw line where you'd have someone rebound for you. You'd shoot a jump shot at the elbow, which is the corner of the free throw line. Then you'd have to jog backwards to the half court and then sprint back up. Shoot another shot, then you would slide to the sideline, slide back in, shoot another jump shot, and then you'd run forward to the baseline, run back, catch a pass, until you made whatever amount. You had to make 20, and then the drill was over, right? So you're probably jogging or sprinting at whatever, 75, 80%, and you're obviously wide open. There's no defender there, but you're breaking down the movement of something that may happen at full speed later.
So the question I have is whether or not it actually makes the most sense to have really good drills inside your sport, and then have a general strength program in the gym.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm doing as a coach and as an athlete is I have, you know, and then the amount of time you put towards those things, we have to start to dictate, right? So let's say we have 7 days in a week, just because whatever moon calendar gave us that. So we have 7 days in a week, and let's say we're a college student or a high school student or even a pro, right? So we probably only have 2, maybe 3 sessions a day we can get in total.
Right.
You know, my lifting is probably 3 to 4 a week. My drills is probably 5 to 7 a week, and then my full on, which is probably some type of scrimmage or game, would be another 5 to 7 a week. You know, and that's kind of where you piece it all together, right? You kind of lift, you kind of break these drills up, you get used to them, and then you go full speed and hopefully apply some of that strength and apply some of those drills at your actual sport. And that's what powerlifting is in a basket too, right? You have 4 to 8 weeks where you're trying to get in some a little bit more general strength, a little bit more variation. Then you're trying to get in, and you got another 4 to 8, maybe 12, 16 weeks where you're getting a little bit more specific. And then hopefully you put it all together on one day at a powerlifting meet.
Right.
It's all just different. Once you understand kind of the scope of programming, and powerlifting is good at that because it's so specific, you have to understand specific programming. Once you really understand that, you can scope and kind of break it down to any sport. I don't know shit about marathons or running. I really don't. But I bet you I could design a pretty good marathon running program just because I understand general principles of athletics and training and programming. I think no, I couldn't do the best in the world by no means. I'm sure there's some running coaches that would laugh at my shit. But I bet there's some running coaches with an open mind that'll look and be like, yeah, it makes some sense. For a meathead, strength and conditioning, basketball playing, dumbass podcaster, he makes some sense.
And I'm sure that you could design a strength program for that person.
Yeah, for sure.
Without too much problem at all.
For sure that. And that's kind of what strength and conditioning should be, in my opinion, is you're kind of the translator from physical athletic fitness to a sport. Yeah, that's kind of your goal, and that's where it should be sport specific. Where a runner doesn't need to bench press 5 times a week. The sport specificity of a runner to bench press is just to hold a little bit of muscle, get a little bit stronger, so then maybe their chest and back don't hurt when they're running 800 miles.
I didn't understand before why it is that. Runners always have big legs, but they usually have like big shoulders, big arms, all this stuff. And why do they do that? Oh, it's because.
It's the momentum.
Yeah, it's the momentum. They don't run with their arms to their sides.
Yeah. And then same thing genetically.
Flapping in the wings. Yeah.
Genetically, if you're going to be the fastest guy in the world or one of the fastest sprinters in the area or jumpers in the area, chances are you have a lot of type 2 muscle fibers and you got a lot of quick twitch and you're really fast, so you're going to kind of just be more jacked than the average.
We're going to have to talk to somebody about muscle fibers at some point. But
yeah, we'll find out. Andy Galpin.
Andy Galpin, probably a good choice.
Muscle fiber guy.
That's pretty much all I can think of relative to this, and I think that Jacob's going to have a fair amount to say. So we'll just my brain just farted. We'll just transition to Jacob now. That's what we'll do.
Let's get some answers.
All right. Okay, so we're here with Jacob Ross, our good friend, who is accomplished, like some of our friends, but not all of our friends. He works right now with Luol Deng.
Yes.
And give us just a capsule of your background for everybody.
Yeah, I like to say I'm an elite sports performance coach. Trainer kind of has a bad connotation sometimes. Yeah. But I've worked for about 10 years in this field. I've had the opportunity to train 10 all-stars from different sports. I've had over 100 professional athletes, several Division I college athletes, a lot of high schools, even some adults, just general fitness training. But, anybody, when you talk about who have you trained, they want to hear about the Pro Bowlers. So,
right, exactly.
That's always a cooler thing to talk about.
Who have you trained that I've heard of?
Matt Forte, Devin Hester, Johnny Knox.
Johnny Knoxville.
Jackass. No, not Johnny Knoxville. Johnny Knox. He was a Pro Bowler for Chicago for 1 year. Also got to train Asia Evans, Olympic medalist. I've had a few guys that have been lucky enough to win a Super Bowl. I didn't have anything to do with it, but I was training them, so that worked out. But several. The thing about pro sports, there's so many guys that I've worked with that you never hear about.
Yeah.
Because unless you're an avid fan of that team, they come in and play 20 games in an NFL or 20 snaps in an NFL game instead of 80. So they're still a good player, but they're not Tom Brady or something.
Or even Luol. Luol's been in the All-Star, and he's been in the league forever. A member of Duke, obviously, and a good team at Duke, and a huge team in Chicago.
Yep, and I've trained some other NBA guys, but again, unless you were following that team at that time, you just wouldn't know who they are.
Yeah.
Really hard to be an All-Star. Really hard.
Yeah. How many people are in the NBA? 300?
Yeah, roughly,
With
I
reserves
guess.
and shit?
Yeah.
Right? And then an All-Stars, top 24 from that.
Yep.
And that's literally the best in the world.
It's like over 1,000 in baseball, something like that. I don't know, some crazy number.
Me and Jacob were talking about that the other night.
Yeah.
Man, and Lou. I was like, fuck, I should have played soccer or baseball. I should have played soccer or baseball.
Okay, so here's our question. Is sport-specific training a gimmick?
So, as usual,
You're cringing. I heard you cringing.
Yeah, it depends on how you define it. But I would say most people would define sport-specific training as, can I do certain exercises that are quote-unquote specific to my sport? Mm-hmm. And I would say most of that isn't true. Most of the sport-specific training market is marketing. It's hype. Mm-hmm. There's not really real thought or research or any sort of data that backs that up.
So you're telling me that me doing a push-up on a basketball isn't going to make me a better basketball player than doing a regular push-up or a bench press?
Within reason, no.
It's
a little bit like sleeping with a basketball. Is that going to make you a better basketball player?
I honestly think so. I used to do that shit. I'd walk to class with a basketball. I dribble everywhere. I slept. I laid down and shot. Yeah. I fell in love,
Yeah.
You fall in love with something you bring to the bedroom, kids.
Was that like a what was the volleyball Wilson?
Yeah.
Castaway, was it that kind of thing?
Yeah,
like, did you put a face on her?
A big bloody handprint on
her?
Yeah,
I basically had no friends, so I turned into Spalding.
Maybe that was your girlfriend?
Yeah, Spalding.
But no. But there is something to be said for training in a way that helps your sport.
Yeah.
So that's where I would draw the line in terms of sport-specific training. So as Mike was saying, if you do a push-up on a basketball, does that for sure 100% make you a better chest passer in basketball compared to if you did bench press or whatever? Mm-hmm. I would say in general, no. But if I'm doing push-ups on a basketball and I'm an ultra marathon runner, and that's all I'm doing is push-ups on a basketball, you should be training more for your sport, the demands of your sport. Mm-hmm. So I really believe that the way that you train an athlete, and I think I've seen this proven through the training that I've done with the people I've worked with and the success that they've had, is there is a genetic inherent component in them to be an amazing athlete. Mm-hmm. Luol Deng is the best example I know of this because he was actually offered a contract. He was a refugee from South Sudan, lived in Egypt for 5 years, got political asylum to England. And so he played soccer in Africa. He played soccer, obviously, in England. And he was offered $1 million contract at age 12 to, I think, Manchester or Manchester City. And that's how good he was at soccer. And in Africa, he told me that they used to blow up a balloon and they would tape socks around it to make a soccer ball. So you're telling me a guy that basically kicking a balloon around was good enough to get $1 million contract at age 12. Crazy. Do you think somebody trained him to do that?
Yeah, it's because he was doing leg presses on top of a soccer ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's bouncing on his knees on a Swiss ball or something.
Basu ball.
Man. So, he was going to be a great athlete. And, of course, now he's a 2-time All-Star. This is his 15th year in the NBA. And he didn't even start playing basketball till maybe around age 11, or so. So for him to be that good in one sport and then not even do that sport and then literally become one of the best in a completely different sport just goes to show you how little sport-specific training had to do with it and how much his genetic makeup on top of passion, on top of work ethic. I mean, when he was in England, he used to put a weight vest on underneath his school uniform and run to school in a weight vest. How many kids do do that at age 12? So nobody taught him to do that. So it is a combination of passion, work ethic, and then genetics that really, I think, to answer your question, puts you in a place to succeed. So when I'm training athletes, I always think about what attributes do I know are important for their sport, And how can I increase those attributes to allow them to be the best version of themselves?
Yeah, not waste time on other things. You got a soccer player. We're probably not doing biceps 5 times a week. Like, why? Right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
we could do them once a week, maybe,
Sure.
to keep balance and other things. But, like, yeah, what can you maybe accentuate and what the hell they have to perform?
Right. So when I started working with Luol, I think the next year was his first All-Star. The next year was an All-Star after that. And it would be easy for me to sit here and say, well, I made Luol Deng an all-star because he wasn't until I trained with him and shortly after he was. And that's just not true. I did put him physically and even probably mentally, through training in a good place to be the best Luol he could be. Mm-hmm. But they also changed coaches who really used him well in that system. Mm-hmm. Then you have to get into, he had great teammates. He had Derrick Rose, he had Joakim Noah. He had all these guys who were also helped him succeed. So all that factors into it. None of us can be responsible for, if you're a sports performance coach, for the success of your athlete. All you can be responsible for is literally giving them all the tools that they need and the capacity that they need to be the best version of themselves.
What about longevity, though?
Yeah, no,
Do you feel like you add that?
For sure. Longevity is something that I do think matters quite a bit, and I think a sports performance coach can take some credit for, because anytime you're talking about a mechanical system, over time it's going to wear down. Mm-hmm. That's the human body, a car, a house, anything.
A brain.
Anything used mechanically over time is going to break down. The nice thing about the human body is you can quote unquote work on it through training, right? Strength training, mobility work, whatever, and you can give it more capacity in certain areas, less capacity in others. You can change some metabolism stuff. You can change some energy system stuff. You can change some fiber type stuff. So I can kind of it's almost like remodeling a house. I can't change a house, but maybe I can put in some new cabinets and a nice marble top on the, on the island.
Wow, you hear that, bro? That's how Jacob thinks of you, dog. He's just thinking you're a fucking old Chevy and he's changing the tires on you, buddy. That's what he thinks of you.
He's going to drop a crate engine in there.
That's fucked up, Luol. I think your old rims are fine, dude. I think your old rims are fine. Fucked up.
So yeah, I can remodel it. I can kind of keep it going longer than maybe it would have without those things, because as they endure mechanical stress over their career, I can really help them endure that stress better and handle it longer. So yes, I do think that matters quite a bit.
So are you breaking down the points in the movements that from a game where they would positions that they would normally be in, awkward, some positions of strength, whatever, and trying to break those things down, replicate them in such a way that you're strengthening them, or you're giving them better mobility? How are you working what you're doing into the actual performance of their sport?
Yeah, I take a really high level approach to that, because some people, and again, this is where you get into the quote unquote sports specific hype stuff, and say, okay, they slide defensively in a game, so every day they're gonna hold a med ball in front of their chest, and they're gonna hold a slide, and they're gonna take small steps, like mimicking a slide.
Yeah.
I think some of that is okay to do, but at the end of the day, there's so many motions that someone could take, and if you could actually measure how your knee or your ankle or the bones in your foot or your hip moves, there's almost literally endless possibilities of that. So it's really dumb to think that I'm a good enough trainer to specifically work on all of those things, because you can't, and you don't have enough time, you don't have enough capacity or any of that. So what I can do, though, is pick the things that are going to matter the most and work on those things. So for any athlete, posterior chain strength is huge. Glutes, hams, adductors, they move you forward, they move you laterally. So those things need to be really strong. They used to think that your quad had a lot to do with knee stability. It doesn't have much to do. It's really your hamstring. So I can't prevent an injury from happening to someone's knee, because if you get hit in the side running down the field in an NFL game and your knee goes by, it goes.
Yeah.
But in general,
you can't teach them to avoid physics, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're bad luck.
Yeah, but if I do work on their hamstring strength, I can for sure maybe stave off some knee instability issues, which might contribute to them just not having as much inflammation, not having tendonitis. So a lot of those things that you can help, or even the recovery from the injury. I've had some athletes who've gotten injured before from physics, and they recover much faster than athletes, I would say, who aren't trained, because your body's already prepared better to deal with, stress, and is prepared better to stabilize faster, regardless of if the joint's compromised or not. So there's a lot of components you can do. Again, I'm giving them their body the best tools to play longer, to play safer, and to play better. That's the real sport-specific training.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. Some of that might actually be the opposite of what they do a lot, like the defensive slide with a ball example. Like Luol plays basketball for 3 hours a day minimum.
Yep.
He's doing a lot of defensive slides.
Yes.
Let's bring him in the gym and do more defensive slides. Like, that's gonna fucking help things.
This is the point exactly.
Yeah. Or why don't you have him box squat, belt squat?
Yep.
Now he's building up those muscles with a different stimulus, but a similar-ish position, and then hopefully that translates to some shit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's similar even to running. A lot of football teams used to just run the hell out of their players. They just run sprints on sprints on sprints on sprints. They're running plenty in practice. They're running plenty, in a game. And a lot of people would argue they really don't run that far, and I would agree with that.
Right.
So if I'm going to have the opportunity to train them, I love this quote. It's been said a million times by a million people. But, working out is what you do for fun. Training is when you pick things you're not good at to work on. My job as a coach is to pick things that he's not good at to work on, so that he can ultimately have, again, more tools in his tool belt. He can have a better capacity to do what he does well. So if I know that defensive slides for him, let's just say I'm like, they're not looking great right now. Like you said, doing more defensive slides isn't going to fix it. But what could fix it is maybe we need a little more adductor strength. Maybe we need a little bit more mobility through there. Maybe he's got a little stickiness in his ankle. I need to strengthen that up. So you kind of go back and you say, what are the grosser movement patterns and muscle groups that I need to strengthen and enhance? And then his body is going to self-select the best pattern to do those things better.
So you're not going to be objective about this at all, because I don't think there's any way you could possibly be. But I'm going to ask you the question anyway.
Sure.
To what extent is a coach necessary to be able to break those things down? Can people break these things down on their own, or do they need somebody looking at them enough of the time to figure out where they need to train to basically have more tools to improve?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I know some athletes that I've worked with who have crazy work ethic and drive, and they like to use their downtime to learn more about this stuff. So they dive into the research, they try to learn from some top coaches, they try some stuff out in their own training. Matt Forte was a great example. When I trained him, if we were training at 6:30 in the morning, he would be at Hallis Hall, the Bears facility, at 5. And he would be running sprints, doing cuts, doing things. Then he would drive over to me at EFT, the gym I was at, and come lift with me there. And so, Matt was doing extra stuff. Then he would go do Pilates after. So, a guy like Matt, I would say that I just probably gave him ideas and things to think about more than I trained him. But then you have some people who just don't care about that. They want to play and come in and hey, just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I want to get better.
Yeah.
So I think it depends more on the person, but the athletes in general aren't focused on that, and they understand it's important, but unless your passion is really there, I think it's important from that aspect, because math is a good example. A lot of people say, 1 + 1 is 2, right? And you go to some, I don't know, Nobel Prize winning top professor, and you're like, 1 + 1 is 2. And he's like, really? Is it? That's just a shallow view. For me, I'm like, of course it is. And I think training's like that. It's such a low barrier to entry thing to do. Anybody can walk into a gym and bench press. Anybody can walk just on their own. They can do push-ups. So training is easy.
Yeah.
But for people like myself and Mike, who think about this stuff and have for years and looked into it and have all this experience, it's not like that.
Yeah, you're building a plan. You have an ultimate goal. You have mini goals within that, and then you're trying to structure. You're like an architect. You're trying to structure this perfect thing, and it won't turn out perfect, but you're trying to make this perfect thing to solve every issue that may happen.
Yeah, and there's so many factors that I'm going to consider that your average person just won't. And things that I've learned through experience, and things that unless you worked with that kind of a person, you'll never know. So I would say from that side, it is very important. There are a lot of poor strength coaches out there. There's a lot of strength coaches who do the bare minimum. They don't know, they don't take the time, whatever the combination is, to really dig into it. And I always tell people, that's not true. Well, why do I have a job? Right? If every strength coach was awesome, I wouldn't have a job, even at a pro level. I think there's a lot of really good ones out there, but there's some who just kind of aren't. And that's what employs people like myself, and employs coaches like Mike. We work with some top athletes because we put them in better places to win.
That makes sense. That was more objective than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, because what I was going to say is like training sport in a way is still so new, especially our sports, right? Basketball, football, baseball in America are the three main sports, and those are less than like 200 years old, right? Yeah. Like I might be wrong with baseball; it may be older, but I think it's under 200 years.
It's
right?
under 200 years.
Yeah, right. Rather than like I know the Olympics are old, running, picking up a stone to see who's strong, wrestling. Some of those are a little bit more ancient, but sports as we know them are new, and then training for sport is real fucking new. Yeah. You know, like my dad played college football, and like they kind of lifted, like they kind of did some leg press or something, but that's like I guess the 70s, maybe the 60s. But a basketball player, like the 90s. Basketball people didn't lift in the 80s. Mm-hmm. So now we're talking
some still don't lift.
Yeah, tons. So that's what I was going to go and kind of be on your side too, is like some guys, would it make them better? Maybe the longevity, but maybe not. Because a lot of it's random luck of getting caught on a knee or not. Some guys might genetically just not do well with that stimulus, and so maybe it won't do them better, but they feel fresher not training or something like that. And so there's tons of NBA. I'm sure there's a decent amount of baseball that don't lift. Yeah. Football guys probably lift to some degree. Yeah. But it's still so new that the knowledge is kind of new, even though the science is pretty solid on a lot of factors. It's still so new. The team sports is so new, so who knows what's going to happen long term with coaches or not.
And I'd say even just look at the trends, right? So in research, we figured out a long time ago that static stretching isn't the best before an activity.
Right.
But how many people still static stretch before they
run?
The
whole world.
Pretty much everybody, yeah.
And so you just look at how much trends have changed and how much they haven't in some ways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Fat's bad, carbs bad, this bad. Yeah.
And you see the need for good, scientific, logical, experienced coaches to help continue to educate and spread the word. And again, I think because it's a low barrier to entry idea, like even like you said, nutrition, just eating. Oh, everybody eats. I just need, I know how to eat. Because it's a low barrier to entry, they don't always give the credit that it deserves to the intricacies and the expertise that it really requires to do it well.
Appreciate you, man. Love having you on. Love hanging out. Lucky to have you as a friend, as a peer. In a way, peer?
In a way?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. We coach or some shit. Love talking training with you. Love talking life, buddy. Thanks for coming to Sacramento, and thanks for being on the show. Where can people find you?
It's real simple. Jacob.w.ross, and y'all are some of my favorite people in the world, so I'm always grateful to get together.
Aww.
Let's go.
On that note,
grab some food.
Thanks very much. We're friends with some of the best people. You can find Mike on social media, Silent Mike with 2 Ks. You can find me at the Jim McD everywhere. And you can find the show, 50% Facts, on Instagram and Twitter, 50% spelled out and facts. Do us a favor, tell a friend if you like this show. Tell a friend. In fact, did I say one? Better make it 2. Tell 2 friends about this show and tell them how much you like it and ask them to give it a listen. We'd appreciate that. Thanks. Talk to you next time.